Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixie Land. My name is Amy. I am an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the NIV. We are in 1 Samuel chapter 17. And then it's a long chapter, but we're doing the whole chapter. So, David and Goliath. Now, the Philistines gathered their forces for war and assembled at Soko in Judah. They pitched camp at Ephes, E-P-H-E-S, Damim, D-A-M-M-I-M, between Soka and Azekah, E-Z-E-K-A-H. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the valley of Elah, E-L-A-H, and drew up their battle plan to meet the Philistines. The Philistines occupied one hill and the Israelites another, with the valley in between them. So that would be their battlegrounds. They're jockeying for high ground, wanting to see what's going on. You know, war tactics are war tactics. It doesn't really matter where you are in history, geography. It always plays a role. A champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. He was over 9 feet tall. Now, Hebrew, about 6 cubits and a span, or about 3 meters, about 9 feet tall. And I need you to also understand. So even to people today, a 9-foot tall person is going to be like, wow, you're a really tall person. Oh my gosh, because we don't normally see people that tall, even today. But even back then, okay, and it's interesting because I was just thinking about this earlier today. Even back then, a full-grown, like, Israeli man during these time frames was about my size, and I am a towering like 5'4.5". Okay, so it's not. I am a wee little thing, so it must have been even more so, like, overwhelming, because it's not even like we're talking about 6 foot tall. I mean, when they say Saul stood over everybody else, it's like, yeah, so he was like 5'9". Because if you had an entire country of people at 5'4" or 5'5", and you have somebody who's at 5'9", they look like they're a giant. To me, 5'9" is the tall person's. And when I can't get things off of the shelf, and I'm asking for a tall person's to help me, I'm talking about anybody 5'9" or taller to get things off the top shelf for me. So, must have been very intimidating. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze, weighing 5,000 shekels. That is about 125 pounds. Wow. Or about 57 kilograms. So his armor weighed roughly the amount that I do. So that's kind of crazy. I mean, I'm a little bit more than that, but roughly the weight of me. It's okay. He's a very big, strong person. On his legs, he wore bronze greaves, and a bronze javelin was slung on his back. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels. See, that is about 15 pounds. Okay. His shield bearer went ahead of him. Okay, all right. 15 pounds or 7 kilograms, depending upon where you're following around in the world, where you're tuning in from. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine? Are you not servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subject and serve us." Then the Philistine says, "This day I defy the ranks of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. I can imagine so. Yes, that's also part of warfare. to make the other side feel, like they can't win. Is part of the tactics. Now, David was the son of an Ephraite named Jesse, who was from Bethlehem in Judah. Jesse had 8 sons, and in Saul's time, he was old and well advanced in his years. Jesse's 3 oldest sons had followed Saul to war. The firstborn, Eliab, the second, Abinadab, and the third, Shammah. David was the youngest. The 3 oldest followed Saul, but David went back and forth from Saul to tending to his father's sheep in Bethlehem, because they were close enough that he could do that. For 40 days, the Philistines came forward every morning and evening and took his stand. Now Jesse said to his son David, take this ephah, and it's got a footnote here of D, and that is probably about 3/5 of a bushel, or about 22 liters, of roasted grain, and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers, and hurry to their camp. Take along these 10 cheeses to the commanders of their unit. So Hebrew, 1,000 to their 1,000. Okay, so their unit. That's how they're broken down into different units. So see how your brothers are, and bring back some assurance. Like a good dad, he wants to know his sons are okay. So he's sending them a care package. That's nice. We do that. Or some token, or some pledge of spoils, for some assurance from them. Have them tell us what they're going to bring back, kind of thing. They are with Saul and all the men of Israel in the valley of Elah, fighting against the Philistines. Early in the morning, David left the flock with the shepherd, loaded up, and set out, as Jesse had directed. He reached the camp as the army was going out into its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Israel and Philistines were drawing up their lines facing each other. David left things with the keeper of supplies, ran to the battle lines, and greeted his brothers. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance, and David heard it. When the Israelites saw the man, they all ran from in great fear. Now the Israelites had been saying, do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give his daughter in marriage, and will exempt his father's family from taxes to Israel. It's a pretty choice deal right there. David asked the men standing near him, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? So David had a lot of sort of attitude to him, like, who is this? No, we kill him, which is, he's got a lot of pent up anger from, being left out there in the shepherding fields, by himself, having to defend himself against wild animals. So, young and rash, essentially. They repeated to him what they had been saying and told him, this is what will be done for the man who kills him. When Eliab, David's older brother, heard him speaking with these men, he burned with anger at him and asked, why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the desert? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down here only to watch battle. Watch the battle. Ooh, that's a lot of aggression towards your little brother. Huh? Now what have I done? Said David. Can't I even speak? He turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter, and the man answered him as before. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul, and so Saul sent for him. David said to Saul, let no one lose heart on the account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him. Saul replied, you are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a boy, and he has been a fighting man from his youth. But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by the hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both lion and bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he likes to defy the armies of the living God. The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of the Philistines." So Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." He's going, "All right, foolish boy." Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened the sword over the tunic and tried walking around because he was not used to them. "I cannot go in these," he said to Saul, "because I am not used to them." So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with a sling in his hand, approached the Philistine. So he's max my size. This guy's wearing armor that weighs as much as my whole, basically my whole body weight. 9 foot tall. And he's got 5 stones and a sling. Now, this is not a slingshot. People like to think of it like that, where it's a slingshot. No, that's a slingshot. Now, it's a similar thing where it's got the piece on the end, but it's actually more like he uses it like a whip, because and the sling, like a throwing sling, not a slingshot. So it's still skill and accuracy, but to me, that it's a sling and not a slingshot makes it even harder, because you got to be calculating the trajectory, the curve, all kinds of stuff. Be good at it like you would with a bow and arrow kind of deal. Meanwhile, the Philistine, with his shield bearer in front of him, kept coming closer to David. He looked David over and saw he was only a boy, ruddy and handsome, and he despised him. He said to David, "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. "Come here," he said. "I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field." David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will hand you over to me, and I will strike you down and cut off your head. Today I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds of the air and the beasts of the earth, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or by spear that the Lord saves, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands." As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly towards the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead. The stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell face down into the ground. So the force of the stone hit it just the right kind of trajectory that hit him, like basically right between the eyes, and just the right angle and force that, it caved part of his head. So it's like, wow. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword, drew it from the scabbard. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. They shouted, and the men of Israel, they turned and ran. The men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance of Gath. Some Septuagint manuscripts, or in Hebrew, it's a valley, so the valley of Gath. And to the gates of Ekron. Their dead were strewn along the Sha'arim, Shaaraim, road to Gath and Ekron. When the Israelites returned from chasing the Philistines, they plundered their camp. David took the Philistines' head and brought it to Jerusalem, and he put the Philistines' weapons in his own tent. As Saul watched David going out to meet the Philistine, he said to Abner, commander of the army, "Abner, whose son is that young man?" Abner replied, "Surely as you live, O king, I don't know." The king said, "Find out whose son this young man is." As soon as David returned from killing the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with David still holding the Philistine's head. "Whose son are you, young man?" Saul asked him. David said, "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem." So, that is the story of David and Goliath, which you can watch in a live action way on the House of David. Accuracy of storyline, I don't know, because I haven't really deep dived into that, other than to find out about that interesting tidbit about David and the questionable parentage going on there. But that is just like the Almighty. He takes the small and unassuming and he rises them to greatness. Until the next video, friends.